I went ahead and created a bunch of Python practice files that you can use just to help verify that you're learning the right things, that you can solve programming problems. So wherever you have Visual Studio and Python installed, you can download these files. So I've got this zip file download here, these practice files. It's easiest to distribute this in a zip file because there's a bunch of files in there. Now, when I download that zip file, it's going to put this file in my downloads directory. And sorry, let me close that real quick. If I just click open a file, these are inside a zip folder. So I can't really edit these right now. I want to move this file and extract it. So I'll just navigate to my downloads directory. So if I click downloads, notice the icon changes. I'm not in a zip file anymore. I've got my Python practice zip file. I'm just going to click and drag and move it to my Python folder where I'm editing my Python files. I'll close this File Explorer window. So now if I double click to open that Python directory, I've got my files there, and we can delete 2.py. That was just a test file. But if I right click on Python practice, I can extract all, and will tell me where do you want to extract it. Python practice is fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and click extract. Notice the checkbox to show extracted files when complete. You don't have to check that, but I'll keep it checked just because that's the default and it doesn't matter. Now I've got a bunch of different folders here in that Python practice. So notice the folder path. I've got my desktop, the Python folder, the main folder where we will keep our files, and this Python practice folder. So that's good to go. I'm going to navigate up one folder just to that Python folder. We don't need that zip file anymore. You can always go re-download it if you want, but I'm just going to select it, hit delete, and it's gone. Now, if I open up Visual Studio Code, so I'll just search for code, and it will find Visual Studio Code. It opened up my last folder, which was that Python folder. Now I've got this Python practice, and there's tons of different files in here that will help us practice. So I'll clean up my desktop just a little bit. I'll close those File Explorer windows, and let's do a test. Let's see if we can do some practice here. So we've got Visual Studio Code open. I'm going to come to the hello folder, and there's hello.py. So just single click on that. It will open that file in our editor here. And we can take a look at the code. Every line here in Python that starts with this octothorpe character, that hashtag, the pound symbol, whatever you want to call it, is a comment. So Python just ignores that. So that's where I will put instructions in these practice files. So here's the instructions. Create a simple program that prints hello world. Run it in the terminal, or we can run it here. We can run it both ways. I'll show that. Print, quote, hello world. Of course, the screenshot's got that sample code. I'll show how to run it using the actual Python from PowerShell, but we can run this entirely in Visual Studio Code. If we just click this play button, that's a shortcut to the run menu, so that works just fine. So if I run this Python file, it prints out hello world. Wonderful. Works perfectly. So as a challenge, here's some broken functions. So fix hello1.py. Go ahead and pause this video, try to fix this code. What's wrong with it? I know we haven't gone into the Python syntax. We'll start off in the next lesson kind of going over the fundamentals, and that will give you more experience working with the actual code. But if you compare this code to the example in hello.py, we're missing something. So we're missing quotation marks. So if I put those quotation marks around it, all the errors go away. I can click that play button to run the code, prints out hello world. I can go to fix 2. So what's wrong with this? Comparing it to the previous examples. Well, you can see I've got those red squiggles. If I hover over this, it'll give me some details on what's going wrong. This message is not terribly helpful in this instance. We need those parentheses surrounding those quotation marks. If we fix that, we can run this code. Notice I didn't save this code. I see that little white dot showing that there's changes to this file. But when I click play to run this file, Visual Studio Code is automatically going to save that file. Then it will run it. And I do see hello world. So how would I run this file using the Python command line? Let's go take a look. I would want to launch PowerShell. So where did I put this file? Well, I put it on my desktop. So if I run dir, I can see in my administrator folder, I've got my desktop. So I'll cd desktop. If I run dir again, I've got my Python folder. So I'll cd Python. Run dir again, and I've got that Python practice directory. So I'll cd Python practice. I hit tab there after hitting py, so it fills that in for me. Dir again, and there's that hello folder. So I'll cd hello. Dir again, and I can see I've got 3 Python files there. Hello.py, fix hello1.py, and fix hello2.py. So I can run any of those just saying Python space hello.py. Notice this command wrapped around the screen onto the second line. That's totally fine. So I can run Python hello.py. It'll run that Python program, then quit. It'll stop when the program's done running. Another way to run Python programs. It's different if I just run Python without supplying a file to run. It'll bring me into the interpreter where I can run my code and exit from there. So a couple of different ways to run Python code. So I'll exit out of PowerShell. We don't need that anymore. These practice folders, they're intended to just give you some extra repetitions writing code. It just takes experience. The more code you write, the more familiar the syntax is going to become, the easier it's going to be to write programs. So these are extra exercises that focus on specific Python concepts. So I think we're good. We'll have those files ready to go, and we can play around with them later.